Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Who Report. We've returned after our very special breaking news report on last Friday with the fantastic return of some missing episodes, but we'll touch on that again today. My name's Nick. I'm here with Aaron. Aaron, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Like you were saying, it doesn't feel like it's been that long since we were just doing the other show on missing episodes.
I know. Well, it's only been a few days, but lots has happened, especially today. There's been some stuff drop as well. So I think we should probably get right into it because we've got a number of slides today. So getting started here, we have got the Web of Fear. Now, this is where we cover some of the things that are going on in news, in social media, stuff like that to do with Doctor Who. And we're going to get started with what Film is Fabulous posted today after their recovery last week. So, no, we're not. Yes, we are. What are we doing? We're
Well,
back. We've
for,
got some missing episodes.
well, first, we've already touched on this, so we're not going to linger on it for too long because we did a whole show on it. For those who aren't Doctor Who fans living under a rock, 2 episodes were recovered and announced last week, 2 episodes of Dalek Master Plan. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So everywhere on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, any of the places that you kind of get fed your daily information for the last couple of days have just been lots and lots of 2 episodes recovered, 2 episodes recovered. And I do think it's funny. I don't know how many of them you've read or how many you've looked into. Some are really well informed, and some people have said stuff which makes me laugh, like, oh, does this episode exist on audio, or is this all? And I was like, oh, there's some people who haven't done their research at all.
No, that's completely true. There have been some crazy reports recently that, yeah, it doesn't exist. We've never had it before. Personally, I've listened to it many times on CD. So the audio does exist. I think we all know
Yes.
that. But yeah, it's been quite cool to see the reaction, especially outside of the Doctor Who community as well. How many people are getting behind this and how it's spread like wildfire, really.
Well, it's funny. It hasn't really in Australia outside in media anyway. I did an interview with someone who represented the Age on Friday morning, and it didn't get taken up because there's too much stuff about war and Epstein files and things like that at the moment. So 2 episodes of Doctor Who doesn't cut it like it did for the 50th. But you are right. Generally online in all the sort of geek culture websites, it's the biggest news for a long time.
Yeah, it has been really, really, really cool to see people are getting behind it. Oh, hi, Mark. First
Yeah,
time
greetings,
seeing you in a
greetings,
very
Mark
long time. So that's awesome.
from Who Cave Conversations. Check that out if you like in-depth looks at action figures and stuff.
Yeah, and we've got a question here. Was it film or videotape that was recovered?
It was definitely film. It was the tele recordings, and it's a new type of tele recordings they're not sure if they've heard about before. It was technical cutting copies, checking for errors and things like that. So there's possibly a whole lot more Doctor Who episodes that were made than what we actually know about. Does that mean we're going to find any more anytime soon? Who knows?
Well, on our next slide here, we've got some more stuff that have been popping up from the people behind the discovery. What have you got to say about this?
Well, I'm not going to read all of that, obviously. There's a lot of stuff going on there. But what people might have noticed, if you're someone who really follows this stuff and reads everything that comes out, there was a wave of information that hit last week. And what we're seeing now is a massive wave of backpedaling.
Mm,
Last week, they said, well, let's try to dissect it. Last week they were saying looks like there's more episodes coming, looks like they've recovered more, like stay tuned, like 65 is not going to be the number for very long because there's going to and then this week there's all like very people turning themselves into pretzels saying, well, when I said that, I didn't mean there was more stuff coming, and I didn't think that. One thing that I don't think anyone can take back, someone asked for Venices, was this find, the two master plan episodes, part of the episodes you said you knew about, or were they bonus episodes? And he said they were bonus episodes. So there are definitely more episodes he knows about. And he said, on a scale of 1 to 10, will we get more recoveries within the next 2 years, maybe? And he said 10. So I would be saying, for all the people who are saying, oh no, they're backpedaling, there is definitely more episodes. They've actually confirmed they know there's more episodes. I think what's probably happened was the people who were involved in this recovery were placed under NDAs, and that's why it didn't leak. And I think they've probably been excited and want to talk about this, and now they've sort of gone, the NDAs have listed on Dalek Master Plan, and they've come out and said stuff, and maybe someone said, well, maybe you're talking a bit too much about other episodes. Remember, you've still got those NDAs, so reel it in a bit. So it's always good not to have, too high expectations, but I still think there's more episodes coming within the next 2 years for sure. So at the moment, as I said, if you've read any of the sites, everyone's going, oh no, Film is Fabulous are saying there is no more. That's not what they're saying. They're probably bringing it back down to, DEFCON 1, which way they were up to the lead up of this reveal.
Very cool. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for more episodes. I have a conspiracy theory, which I'll share later when we dive into more about New Who. But we're going to go here. This cracked me up quite a bit. For those, a little bit of background. Aaron sent through the photo on the right that I'm about to show a few nights ago and was very proud of his work. And then the next morning sent through the photo on the left and went, God damn it. So what we've got here is Aaron has created a wonderful image of Mavic Chen looking at Aaron and my faces on screen, which we were going to use for the promo. And then the following day, it was used by someone else.
Yeah, God damn it! That took me minutes to whip up, and someone came and snatched it away. So, and I don't really even get enthusiastic enough to bother doing promos. Usually, all the stuff's just whipped out the day before. But yeah, I guess it's chalked down to great minds think alike. But the same photo in the same position and everything, I guess I should have known it was doomed to failure.
It was a bit too obvious, but it was very well done. Well, we've got here, I think, some of the last stuff we've got to do with the Dalek Master Plan. We've been getting so many different clips being put online, actually from the episodes that have already been recovered years and years ago,
Yeah.
which is crazy that people are being so receptive to it. I find the comments quite funny because people are going, wow, this looks awesome. Can't wait to watch it. And then the replies are all from Doctor Who fans going, well, you could have watched it a long time ago. Because it's all from episode 2. So, yeah, tell us about what
Yeah.
we've got
Well,
up on the screen here.
Well, I was going to say, because of the way that the internet and algorithms work, everyone's doing search for Dalek Master Plan, and all these videos I haven't seen recommended in any of my channels for years, going back years, have suddenly hit the top again, and probably you'll get some content creators who are really happy because stuff they uploaded years ago has gone back and is trending again. I did think it was interesting. Josh Snares does, he's a local Australian, does some missing episode stuff. And I think he'd pretty much done most of the stories and had come to an end. And Dalek Master Plan's come back, and a whole heap of his videos have came back as well. The other side there, the black and white shorter picture, the BBC have been releasing different clips and bits and pieces from the episodes more each day. I am someone who's quite happy with what we have seen. I don't really want to see any more. I would prefer now to just see the whole episodes and not have any more surprises ruined. And there's one in the middle for the Benny Hill in everyone. There's some of those Dalek bulges I'd like to get my hands on, Nick.
Okay, well, we'll move on from that one, Aaron, and we'll go straight into some of the New Who stuff. Obviously, we've been talking a lot about Classic Who over the last few days, and we've got New Who because what is going on? The internet is in absolute uproar at the moment.
I just wanted to highlight one of my favorite channels, Who Culture. I don't know if many people here watch it or not. It is one of the channels that seems to always be looking for content to churn out. And I do think it's funny because if you look at their headlines for what's happening with Doctor Who, literally over the past 4 or 5 weeks, Doctor Who's going to YouTube. No, it's not. Doctor Who's going to HBO. No, it's not. Doctor Who's going back to Netflix. So I just don't know, like, if it's really anything you can take serious anymore, because are they actually real stories that are getting, bumped around, or is it just they're making stuff to get content? And sadly, maybe it's making stuff to get content. If you watched their stuff on the Return the Dalek Master Plan, they were the ones who didn't know if it existed as an audio, which just blew me away because I actually thought they were a pretty fan-based Doctor Who channel. But then it actually made me laugh. They looked up when the last recoveries were, and it was for the Enemy of the World and Web of Fear for the 50th, and they go, ooh, starting a conspiracy here. Maybe someone was holding them until the 50th to release them. They did hold them for the 50th to release them. That's not a conspiracy. So it's like, so I don't know, maybe a different level of fan group that watch us. I like to think that maybe we don't have as much news because we only report the stuff I think is accurate.
Well, to report something that's completely not accurate and is probably like a 0.001% chance of ever happening, my conspiracy theory is we're not going to get a Christmas special this year. It's not going to go ahead. And instead, they're going to bring us back the Feast of Stephen, Dalek Master Plan episode. If that happens, I think I'm the first person on the internet to actually say it. It's not going to happen. But if it does, you heard it here first on the Who Report.
Well, I did joke with you. I think this Feast of Stephen is like Peter Purves eating after the next BFI event and someone films it. But I'm just going to agree with you. I reckon I don't know if we're going to get a Christmas special this year. I think from people I've spoken to recently, it's looking less and less like it's going to happen. So we'll see what happens. They're kind of try and pull out all stops. I was speaking to someone who's connected just last night, and they kind of said, well, even if the Christmas special doesn't happen, Doctor Who will come back at some point.
There you go. Well, next up, we've got the wonderful Tom Baker here on the screen. Some clips from the Five Doctors surfaced this week.
Well, no, this is one of the things I love about when we look at the Web of Fear from all the things all over the place. I could have just as easily looked at that on our WhoTube section, but I think WhoTube is more for older stuff, and the Web of Fear is stuff that's coming up now. Someone has taken an alternate scene from Sharda, and this is the scene where the Doctor is escaping the mind draining devices on a bike, and he has taken those special effects out, and then he's put in the time scoop effect from the Five Doctors. And because it actually ends where the Doctor and Romana sort of get away at the end of the Five Doctors, I think it's a much more appropriate clip, and it is better because you have the Doctor being Tom Baker riding through the university town. You have him riding up a street where it's like got no cycling, and you think, yeah, that's just Doctor Who right there. And then it ends with him being cornered and trying to get underneath the grate, which is where at the end of the Five Doctors, Romana turns up and saves him. So that's out there. It's only been out for a couple of days. I do think it's worth a view for classic Doctor Who fans. And you know the best thing about it, Nick? It's not AI.
That's pretty impressive that it's not AI, because I think the majority of things that are popping up on YouTube nowadays are just AI. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I think you're AI, but AI isn't as dumb as you, so you can't.
Yeah. 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 Let me think about that. Well, we've also got here some the behind the scenes for the trailer. It's not often you get a behind the scenes for a trailer, but the behind the scenes for the season 21 mini Doctor Who episode to promote the Blu-ray box set surfaced online this week.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that I was interested to learn in this is Janet Fielding broke the toilet. So I don't know what was happening there. But I do think, much like we're having a war to hide the Epstein files, we're releasing all this amazing stuff on video, DVD, and missing episodes to hide what's actually happening with Doctor Who um, in Cardiff at the moment. But I'm quite happy with that because we've got season 21 released and we had the trailer for that, and then we've got like almost an intimate access behind the scenes, and I don't know if you've watched it. I think it's hilarious where members of the public just walk through the middle of the video after Peter Davison sort of says, well, I wouldn't mind living around here apart from all the people, kind of thing. And then because the telemovies coming out and getting, a really good polishing, stuff from the telemovie has been released from different sources and come back up into sort of rotation because of the algorithm. And there's some stuff that says it's been on YouTube for years that I've never seen before. So if any of you are watching anything you're feeling is pretty interesting and you haven't seen, feel free to send me links, because I'm happy to take suggestions for this segment as well.
Awesome. Well, moving into that and the wonderful world of the internet, we're going into WhoTube, where we look at some of the cool stuff that is in the backlog of YouTube videos. And you've got for us a commercial, I believe, a commercial video clip that you've dug up. I haven't seen this yet, so I'm looking forward to reacting to it. So we'll pop it up now.
Update of microscan information reveals new situation. Australia is dirty, littered, imminent collapse of life support systems due to pollution.
What? Well, there you are then. That's why I've got to go down there. I've got to go down there and tell them to keep Australia beautiful. That's important. I'll tell them to keep Australia beautiful. It's important. Can I go now, sir? Thank you. It is important. Keep Australia beautiful.
Well, that's
So
by
do you
far the best
remember?
anti-littering ad I've ever seen.
Do you remember the Keep Australia Beautiful campaign, or are you too young?
God, no.
Uh,
No, I
okay.
think that was like way before I was even born. Yeah.
Okay. So that's only half the ad. So you can find the front half of the ad tells how great Australia is, but we've got limited time, so I just cut it down to the last half. What's great about that is I've looked for that ad before and it's existed on YouTube for a while, but someone's uploaded a much better copy than I've ever found. So it is one of those rare things to see in such amazing condition. I did find a clip we might use soon. This will impress Greg King, with Tom Baker talking about how deadly crinoids are, but that wasn't an advert. It was a behind the scenes thing. So today we're looking at adverts. Last week we looked at earlier adverts. This sort of is adverts for the wilderness years and the later episodes of Doctor Who. We will get on to the new series because I do want to look at all of them because there's some amazing stuff. Now, there is some warnings with these adverts, though, because there's some inappropriate, or I guess times have changed, so some of it wouldn't seem so PC anymore.
Well, the first one we've got here does have the wonderful Tom Baker again, looking a lot older than he ever did as the Doctor. Yes, Crinoid approved, Greg. Very good. And we've got here some sort of phone number. What was this for?
1-800 TARDIS. I'll never forget that. That's if I want to change my superannuation. And basically, Tom Baker did a series of superannuation ads for New Zealand. I don't know if they got the rights to use everything they did, but they used a pretty, average version of the Doctor Who theme. The Doctor, the TARDIS console. They used TARDIS as the phone number for the superannuation ads, and the whole gist of the adverts were look after your future, get appropriate superannuation. And the Doctor was talking about different reasons why you need superannuation and things like that. So out of the adverts we've seen, it was one of the truest to the actual series, and it got Tom Baker doing the Doctor again. There's 4 ads in this series. The pictures I've used there, I think, are just from the first one. So that was one I don't think was as common, and when I was researching this, found it and go, I haven't seen all of these for ages.
I didn't know they had adverts. I have myself one of the postcards from New Zealand, and I didn't know that they did anything outside of postcards. So they really just grabbed Tom Baker and ran with it. I love it. Everyone, switch over
I,
your superannuation services to Doctor Who approved. That is
yeah,
very, very, very cool.
I heard a great joke about New Zealand. What's the best selling product in New Zealand?
I don't know, Aaron.
Velcro gloves. Okay, let's move on. So the next
Okay.
slide is another one of those products that I had not heard about. And this is an interesting one because it isn't exactly an ad that was shown to everyone. This was an industry ad, and this blows my mind, and it will blow your mind too, being someone who's in HR, because this was shown to people as a way to encourage them to get on board with this campaign for it's for white goods, actually, Zanussi. And the one thing I can't believe is this was after John Pertwee was the Doctor, obviously, but he is as the Doctor, and he is being as the Doctor. And the woman says to him, "So, Doctor, how can I? Where is Venusi?" Because he says he's come from the planet Venusi, and he turns around and says, "Show us your tits, and I'll tell you." Which is one of those things you do not expect to be in Doctor Who. John Pertwee is famous for being in comedy and has done records like Baldy Sailors Sea Shanties and stuff like that. And that's okay because you're getting what's on the label. But when you're actually having him appear as Doctor Who, you would think that the BBC had some standard that they actually held the I guess the licensees too when they were representing the Doctor. So this is an advert you can find. Interestingly, if you type Doctor Who adverts, it really doesn't turn up. I found it hard to find the full version. It is on YouTube, but you have to find someone who's reviewing it on their channel, because the original one I think has been taken down, much like we will be after people view this episode a couple of times.
Probably most definitely. The next ad we've got here is for Kit Kat, which it's remarkable because for me, Doctor Who has never really had a base with modern products. You know, the basic consumer stuff. I haven't really seen that since, you know, the 2005 return. There haven't been a have a break, have a Kit Kat ad with a Dalek in it in modern Who, but obviously there was back then.
Well, that's because this was shown for about 3 days and then banned, and the Terry Nation estate sued them because they didn't get permission to put Daleks in a Kit Kat ad. And it did the one thing that Terry Nation and his estate really never let them do, and that was have the Daleks break character. And all of that series of Kit Kat ads are basically have a break, have a Kit Kat, and the Daleks eat the Kit Kat and they don't want to exterminate anymore. And you'll see in the middle picture, they actually join the Hare Krishnas and are sort of become nice Daleks because they have a Kit Kat. So I don't know if you can see there's like a conga line there with the Dalek at the end of Hare Krishnas. And that is something I never ever expected the Daleks to do. But that's the power of a Kit Kat.
Yeah, well, you know, we'll try whipping that one out in the Christmas special if we get one with Daleks in it. Maybe the Doctor can pull out the old Kit Kat bar. Who knows? And we've also got here another advert with a very not looking like Sylvester McCoy image. What was this for?
I think that's hilarious that you say that, because as I was growing up, I grew up in this sort of computer era, and this actually had super realistic graphics, and I think that was an amazing version of Sylvester McCoy. I'm just thinking it from like my old boomer point of view, where everyone now has photorealistic stuff, but the generation of games before this one, it really was just different coloured blocks. This you can tell what they're meant to be. So this is an advert for a 90s computer game called Dalek Attack. It was released, I think, primarily for the Amiga. It was backwards released on different systems right back to the Commodore 64, though I have never seen the graphics of the Commodore 64 version, that would probably be a nightmare to behold. But Dalek Attack was actually one of the good Doctor Who computer games. It had 5 different levels with the Doctor or various companions running through, fighting Daleks, Ogrons. I think the Master was in it, different periods of history. One of the better computer games. I never saw that ad in Australia, but obviously Doctor Who got a lot more adverts in the UK.
Yeah, look, really the only Doctor Who games that have come out in my time are the Top Trumps card game on the DS, and then some failed story-related ones with Matt Smith and Jodie Whittaker leading up there. But it'd be very cool to go back and play some of the old games, especially on a system as defunct as the Amiga. Well, that
I
brings
do
up.
think
Oh, no, go.
I do think Doctor Who is one of those franchises that if you made the right game could be absolutely amazing, but no one's actually ever made the right game. Developers, you might as well pour your money down the toilet rather than making Doctor Who video games, because they never really seem to be any good. Yes. Amiga, who once led the High Council of Time Laws and reduced to selling computer games. Well, it is one of those things, isn't it? I guess Amiga would explain why they're all so crap, because he's evil.
Yes, well, especially after the Omega we saw in the last appearance of him, yeah, definitely not great. Well, we've come to what we've sort of already touched on, but we're going to touch on some other stuff that came out today: the destruction of time, the missing episodes. Aaron, what are we discussing with these today?
Well, because we've already had a good look at the returns, I think there's one slide on the return. Then we're going to look at the second part of our animated restoration kind of things. So today, I don't know if you read it. Film is Fabulous put out like a memorandum talking about the return, what else was there, because there wasn't just 2 episodes, they found 6. So 2 of them being missing is actually quite good. Imagine if they'd found 6 episodes and they were all copies of Web of Fear or something, not Web of Fear, Web Planet or something like that we already had. So they put out what the other episodes were. And the crazy thing about this is there's 2 episodes there from the Daleks. And if we're talking about, the distance in time for what you're likely to find episodes, you're probably thinking, the Daleks and the earliest ones are going to be the hardest to find because it's so long ago. But we've got another 2 copies from the Daleks, the Survivors and the Escape, which were broadcast in 63 and 64. So right at the beginning of Doctor Who. And that says, for me, it could have just as easily been Marco Polo. That's a 7-episode story we don't have any episodes of. And if we're getting things returned as far back as that, it could have just been that. It was just potluck that we got 4 episodes that existed. And they've also given a list of various collectors who have allowed their collections to be cleaned, moved, digitized and fixed up. The person who had this wanted to remain anonymous, but there are other collectors who are happy for their collections to be known and for it to be public. So we probably will, in the destruction of time, talk about this for a couple of weeks, because obviously news is going to develop as time goes on.
Yeah, no, well said. It is very exciting. The 2 episodes of the Daleks, at least that I read, were quite good copies. They were very original and are probably better than what the BBC currently have in their archive. So that's quite exciting for future releases. I'm sure we'll eventually get a Blu-ray release of season 1. So to be able to have even better copies to do the remasters on will be really great to see. But obviously it is a bit disappointing we didn't get more episodes, but we've got 2. Don't look the wish horse in the mouth. And yeah.
Yeah. So I'm happy with what we got, but do you know something I wasn't happy with?
What?
It was the Celestial Toymaker reconstruction produced by the BBC. You know, I guess they were trying. This is one of the ones that I was talking about last week, that there are some good ones and there are some average ones and there are some bad ones. And this is the one I put into, I don't think I could ever watch this again. It comes across to me as they had a good go at it, and I know what they were trying to do, but the character designs were just grotesque. None of them were nice to look at. Dumb animation. Yeah, that's what we should call this week's episodes. None of them were interesting to really look at. No, none of them were nice to look at. They kind of all really jarred for me. I don't think the likenesses were very flattering or very good. And because this is a surreal story, they obviously could expand it, but they expanded to a point where the original was lost, in my opinion. You had the story because you have the original audio, but the visuals were so far removed from what it originally was. When I watch Power of the Daleks animation or the Invasion animation, I actually feel like I've seen the episodes. When I watch this, I have no idea what the original episodes look like from this animation. So I think it fails from that point of view. Now, obviously, they brought it out because the Celestial Toymaker came back in the giggle, and it's colourful, and maybe they were going for CGI to, get the newer crowd to watch it. Yeah, bought it and watched it once and left it on the shelf. Animation should have been done in a better style. I totally agree. I think the thing with the Doctor Who animations, they set a house style, which was the original sort of black and white animation that lasted for maybe 5 or 10 years with the first couple of releases. And then they kind of diversified and did different things. As a completely obsessive compulsive collector, I don't want them to change stuff and, see other ways to try and do it. What did you think about this one?
I didn't love it. I liked the grandiose scale of the set pieces. It felt like what they would do with the Celestial Toymaker if it were done in that new Disney series. But again, these are supposed to be recreations of 60s episodes, recreations of what we've lost. And in that instance, it just was not the case. As you can see here, the characters looked just really, really, really creepy, even when they're not supposed to. And yeah, some of these grand scale, like the obstacle course thing was just nuts. Like,
Well,
I think we've all seen the loose cannon reconstructions, the telesnap reconstructions, and we can see what the set was actually like. And then, yeah, they turned it into this insane 3D CGI thing, which was just wrong on so many levels.
Well, I remember seeing the trailer for it, and that picture that has the obstacle course with the green background and the big yellow thing with polka dots on. I actually thought the trailer had gone on to the next video, and I was watching something from CB's, and it was like in the Night Garden or Teletubbies or something like that. It is totally removed from what the original look of the story was. I don't know if there are some people who go, that's great. Like, I hate the black and white animation, and that's one of the best ones they've ever done. But if there are fans like that out there, there's not a lot of them that will admit to it.
Mm. Well, one that you have popped on here next up is pretty crazy. It's a fan animation that was done. I remember watching this on YouTube many years ago. Yeah, it is a very stark comparison.
Well, the fan animation has done the thing where they've taken probably the original production and they've honoured it a lot more closely. It isn't the same at all, but between the two versions, the fan release is actually better than the official product. And when you hit, something like that, something's got to be said behind the scenes when the fans are producing and releasing stuff on YouTube with current technology, something that stands up better than the paid product that the BBC are pumping out. It was probably just an experiment. They haven't really done anything like that since, but they haven't really done many animations since anyway. That's kind of slowed down a bit. So who knows, the next one will get this abomination again. There's another one that's the fan animation. And Mark says, yep, the fan version is far better. The backgrounds, like being cut out, looked more like the originals. The TARDIS as well. I think from the original, the TARDISes that were fake turned out to be cut out. So the thing in the BBC version where they're like 3D animated ones, it doesn't even make any sense. But there you go. I guess the director decided he was going to change things, and it didn't work for me.
Yeah, I think if you were to show it to someone who had watched The Giggle, maybe they would like it because it is more modern. But yeah, the
Yeah,
character models were just really, really, really disturbing. Uh,
yeah.
in my opinion, I think you used the word grotesque. I would agree with that. They did not look like the original actors. Yeah, they just looked wild, absolutely wild. But
The
we'll move on
thing
to
with
another animation that they did that you've popped up on here, and that's the Ice Warriors, which was kind of bridging the gap between the original art style that they'd done and the newer CGI sort of 2D images.
Well, this is the first one I remember getting and being disappointed. Some of that disappointment might be because I find the Ice Warriors 2 episodes too long and quite a drawn out, slow story and hard to watch, in one go anyway. But before this, we'd had like the Cosgrove Hall style animation, who were the company that did the invasion, and then that had been mimicked with some of the other stuff. And we looked at a lot of the Cybermen and Dalek stories last week, and this came along and it just seemed to step down in animation styles. It almost seemed like Captain Pugwash type animation, and this was the first one I remember. And it's a complaint that they've had since then, that the arms didn't seem to really stay still and they'd wave around, and it also looked very unnatural. The way they walked and things like that. So I guess the thing with this, it was animation that was bridging existing episodes. When you look at the Ice Warriors cover, you probably think you're going to get a fully live action story, but the Ice Warriors, half of it is missing. And I did find when I was looking for pictures to use as screen caps, a lot of the reviews had stuff like dull and things like that. It's not bad, it's just not like amazing. It's filmed at a different time when the pace of stories was a bit slower and a bit more ponderous. The thing I love about the Ice Warriors is the Ice Warriors. So sometimes a slow Doctor Who story is great still because the monsters are so imaginative. The Ice Warriors, when you've animated them and they're clumpy Captain Pugwash Ice Warriors, aren't as captivating as the Cybermen.
No, definitely not. And the next one we've got up here was after the big Doctor Who rebrand that happened when Jodie Whittaker came along. Everything changed logo-wise. Everything went to the new logo. And this the first one of that lot that came out? Because there were quite a number that came
There
out
was
over those years. They just churned them out.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch around the same time, which I kind of think are all sort of the same kind of animation. You had the Macroterra, you had the Faceless Ones, you've had after this one the Abominable Snowmen, and you had Fury from the Deep. And these are ones that I find very middling. I find that the stories are amazingly good and the animation is passable. But I think this was where they started committing the sin where they would put stuff in the episode that wasn't in the actual original episode. For me, I was disappointed that you had giant strands of seaweed reaching out of the ocean to grab helicopters and stuff like that, which, well, I can't say they couldn't do, but wasn't in the episode. If it had been in the original episode, it would have probably been a pole with a big vine on it, like waving around in the sky kind of thing. But you can see with this, the character animation is kind of what you were saying. It's halfway between the Ice Warriors and this new sort of CG animated animation. The character design isn't bad. The thing I found with this and a lot of the criticism these animations from this period get is, again, no one can keep their arms still. They've always got them waving around, and they just do seem too long as well. I enjoy them. I actually, I can't say I wouldn't want them in my collection because I do pull them out and watch them sometimes. But for me, it's often a case of what could have been if they'd stick with the original animation style.
Yeah, I don't mind these. They do kind of look like weird mobile game ads, if that makes sense. I think especially that bottom right-hand corner photo, it looks like there's supposed to be text bubbles explaining that your farm needs water. But yeah, they're fun. Like I really like the Macroterra. I really like the Faceless Ones. Fury of the Deep, they all came out sort of around the same time. They churned out so many in that period of time when Jodie Whittaker was the Doctor that it, yeah, it's sort of almost the new art style, but then obviously they released Celestial Toymaker and that all just went out the window like it had never been.
Yes, it's one of those things where I think they explained to fans the original art style was a more expensive style to do, and this one was a cheaper one that got the job done. And from that point of view, I think it was really great that we got them and that they did them. But I just wished if they were going to do that, they'd stick to that for the rest of the line and not switch it up with CG and Web of Fear 3 and then Evil of the Daleks, which we haven't talked about yet. We will probably next week or coming up, where they mix 3D with 2D and creates a whole different kind of style again. So when we're looking at the destruction of time, we've lost this material and there's various ways to bring it back. There's I guess, telly snaps and the loose cannon stuff, and then there's the animated stuff, and then now there's fans doing AI stuff as well. And I guess there's different ones for everyone. Fury feels to be, sorry, I missed the quote, but yeah, feels so expensive. When it should have been claustrophobic. That is the other thing, Calvin, that is really disappointing. We all know Doctor Who was filmed on very small sets, and we got ones like Underwater Menace where there's these huge caverns and huge temples, and Fury from the Deep had like refineries for oil like running on forever, and we just knew it wouldn't have been like that, and there's absolutely no reason to make that change. The other thing that did my head in, they started putting Easter eggs in stuff where they'd have like pictures of the Master on wanted posters. In Fury from the Deep on an oil refinery, why is there a picture of the Master on an oil refinery? It just used to do my head in when it would pop up, because it's distracting from the story. And when you've got something like this, which already can take some time getting your attention, you don't want to put stuff in there to take away your attention from the story.
Well, speaking of the Master, he's come back and he's here to talk to us about mastering eBay. Now, Aaron, this week we've got a number of slides to do with mastering eBay, but we'll start with number one. And we've got here some things to do with target books, which are something that we talk about quite a fair bit here on the Who Report.
Not only target books, but the target book. So this is the target book. It must be about 20 years old now. It seems new to me, but anything below 20 years is kind of new to me. And this is probably one of the best copies of it I have ever seen. Now it's a record in that I've never seen this one go for so much before. But what the original owner of this has done is track down the original target artists and commission them to do original paintings inside the book in various pages. So not only do you get the limited edition target book that's fully signed by all of the authors and artists, which most of them were if you bought the limited edition, then you've got unique art on a dozen pages for all the big artists that work for Target, including Chris Achilleos, Roy Kipe, Cummings, a lot of the people who did some of the most classic Doctor Who pictures ever. So not only this slide, but the next slide shows all original paintings that were inside this book. And so for people who love Doctor Who art, there's amazing artwork there from some very famous Doctor Who related artists, and none of it I had seen before because it's all original commissions that were put in this book. Okay, the book went for $4,000, but I bet you the commissions cost more than that. And there's some really interesting stuff there. There's a David Tennant in War of the Worlds with the Martian war machines and the Martians in the background. And I think there's Peter Davison with a Triffid next to that as well from Day of the Triffids. I love the Cybermen at the top, which is like a pastiche of a 60s Cyberman annual, something that we never got. And there were a lot of double pages with different doctors. So whoever collected this over the years lovingly assembled this art collection from Target book artists and put in this book. And I'm sure they must have been disappointed with what they got for it.
Mm. Yeah, it's such a cool piece of Doctor Who history. I hope that they go through and do some really, really high resolution copies of the images that they ended up getting. But next up, we've got another tip of the week, which actually leads from last week's tip of the week, which had to do with the steelbooks.
Yeah, so because last week the steelbook went for so much, I've been looking at the cheapest way to get steelbooks. And the cheapest way is, of course, buying them in bulk. Now, a lot of people can't buy them in bulk, and that's why, people buy things one at a time, and it costs more. It's like a piecework way of getting stuff. But when the steelbook is going for $2,000 and it's only another $800 to get like 10 steelbooks instead of one, it absolutely makes sense if that steelbook is in there to buy it in a bulk lot like that. And if you're thinking, but I only want that one, if you buy that lot that's got all of the steelbooks in, you can then probably resell them yourself, and that will pay for the one that you're keeping. So if you're smart about it, there's always a way to substitute. There's always a way to subsidize your collecting. And the thing that's interesting there for me is the top auction that went for $3,150 had 8 steelbooks in, and then the one below had a whole heap more, and it had all of the ones that were in the one above. So it was cheaper to buy them in the bigger lot than it was to buy a smaller lot with the other few in. So it is one of those things where it's just being more smart in the way you purchase things. And I'm not pretending that $2,000 or $3,000 is not a lot of money. But if you're buying them separately and paying $500 to $2,000 each, you're probably not worried about $800 more kind of thing. So we'll keep an eye on steelbooks and see maybe if we can find a way to get them any cheaper, or find like a bargain basement one, if it's still possible.
Yeah, well, I think that's absolutely insane prices for Doctor Who Blu-ray sets. Obviously, they're still, half of them are still available in JB Hi-Fi. The other half are still available on eBay as just standard releases. But there is a big market out there at the moment for steelbooks and physical media in that aspect. But another thing that has recently come back, not just in Doctor Who, is chess. And you've got here a Doctor Who chess set, which I only recently just learned about, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, so the chess set, it was done by Danebury Mint in the 90s and 2000s, and you could kind of buy it a piece at a time, and it was a subscription. And then they do what they do with all these subscriptions, and they add, oh, now you can get all the different doctors as kings, and now there's a secondary set with the telly movie, and now there's a secondary set of monsters, and it goes on and on and on until it's not profitable for them anymore. And I did find this was interesting, that basically the same set sold, and one of them, it's only $100 difference, but it's purely because of the picture they used for the eBay gallery. If you can see the chess pieces, you're going to get more, just because it's more attractive to see all of these little figures that you're going to get than just a black and white chessboard. So this is one of the items from the Time Lord archives, because it is a lovely premium piece, and it is one of those things that is quite hard to find, and not a lot of people in Australia have them. They're good because Danebury Mint was a rather good company, and so the sculpts are amazing and they look accurate. And so you built this really good chess set, but the prices on this is all over the place. And if you try to sell them, you get much more if you split them up. It's very, very hard to do that as a collector, where you have a set of something and then you decide, rather than sell it as a chess set, you're going to sell them as miniatures and split them all up. We had some in the shop that someone hadn't completed the full chess set, so they sold us the miniatures. And far and away, they went for way, way more selling them individually than if you assembled a set and sold them as a set. So that's one of those items. If you like chess, it's a great chess set, but it's an expensive one as well.
Yeah, I can just imagine getting all of those little pawn canines and putting them all up in an army on your shelf, if you were selling off all of the other pieces that you wouldn't do. But we've got here the next.
You actually can't buy pawn canines in Australia anymore. but that's another issue. So one of the bargain basement things, because we've been looking at Doctor Who videos and DVDs and Blu-rays and steelbooks, are some of the premium sets that were released over the years. And one of the premium ones was the Time Capsule, and it's of interest to a lot of different fans because it had a sonic screwdriver toy, it had a unique Tom Baker toy, it had posters, books, limited edition DVD, a fantastic case, and I think it retailed at about $149. The really crazy thing is there's a lot on there for about $149. Buy it now. But if they go in an auction started at 99 cents, they go for around $40. So my tip would be, if you want to get a bargain of some of these things, don't go for the instant buy it now. Have a look of what they're going for in a bidding auction, and then if you find one, put it in your watched items and see what it goes for, and you could save yourself 2/3 of the total.
Yeah, that's crazy. And another bargain basement thing you've got here as well is the regeneration gift set, which had all of the Doctor's episodes that had to do with his regeneration in it, from the 60s all the way through to the Matt Smith era. And what's going on with the prices on these? Because this is just crazy.
This is another thing where Doctor Who can be all over the place. Now, there's three there. Obviously, the bargain basement one is the one that went for $16, and that was in England, and it only had $5.20 postage to Australia on it as well. So you really could have got a bargain there. But they ranged in price from $16 to $150 for exactly the same item. The one that's $150 is still sealed. The one that's $94 was open, and the one that was $16 was open, and you could see that they'd taken the discs out. But I don't know if they just used a promo picture for that, but it said it was in great condition. I'm shocked.
Yeah, that looks like one of the promo pictures.
Yeah, so I'm shocked at the range that's going for, because that was a premium set that was, it might have even been limited edition and hard to get when it came out. I remember they sold out in Australia really fast. So anyway, if you are caught up in this renaissance for physical media, which we are noticing in the shop, and you want to get a back catalogue of Doctor Who, so when Netflix disappears it or it disappears off of BritBox, you can still watch it. You can get just about everything still on eBay, but just be really careful with the prices, because why spend $150 when you can get it for $20, and that other $130 you can buy on other stuff for your collection?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that brings us to the end of the Masters bargain basement, and now we're going to go into Who's Who in the Zoo. Aaron, you did spend a ridiculous amount of time making that. Are you happy to see it here on the screen?
Finally, I made that over a year ago. So, yes, so Who's Who in the Zoo is just the crazy stuff that's happening in our lives, and with some of our friends and people watching in the shop. Now, what's going on in this picture, Nick? You can explain this, because I'm just shocked.
Are we talking with the left or the right? I'm assuming the left.
Yeah, the left.
So a good friend of the shops, Shane, is very big into custom figurines and making things that Doctor Who figures haven't had before, so custom figurines, and using AI to create these models. And he actually took a very lovely photo of our main man here, Aaron, and ran it through AI and made a 3D printable figurine size Aaron head to put on your Absorbaloff figurine.
Well,
so
he's come in and he showed me the head. He hasn't handed the head over yet, but it's one of those things, like, does everybody want a little head from Aaron? I don't know, but it's one of those things. I actually think it makes me look like an Auton replicant or something. The other side of the picture there, after we did the update on missing material, a couple of people asked me, what was going on in the background. That is actually upstairs in the shop. That is all from a deceased estate. That is various types of film and video formats that we're in the middle of searching. Nothing major, no Doctor Who or anything like that, but there are some missing material of behind the scenes stuff and outtakes and other things there. So yeah, the Who Report action figure set. I don't know. The Absorb a lot. I don't know what you are. We'll have to work that out. But
The
so
thing with it being an Auton replicant, though, is when this plastic Aaron goes pizza, pizza, I just think it's you. So,
yes, I eat the plastic pizza. Yes,
uh,
and we had the comment from Shane there, and we've got matching Auton heads. So yeah, it was
wonderful.
Shane who made that for me. So thank you for that. Yeah, so that's the
Thank you,
background
Shane.
that I was broadcasting with, and it shows some of the material that we've got upstairs, which is going to be going back to copyright owners and universities and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's one of the things we've been doing. What else have we been doing this week?
Well, our favourite thing is torturing our wonderful producer, Dags, with Docky Who. And this week we thought, why not get it to jump out of the screen? So we actually ended up watching back to back, much to his dismay, The Day of the Doctor in 3D on a 3D television, and then the US release of Dark Water / Death in Heaven movie length post conversion 3D thingy as well. So as you can see here, the last temptation of Dags. He looks so happy
Yeah,
with his little
yes,
3D glasses on, watching Doctor
that's
Who.
that's because he's post conversion as well. But we watched Doctor Who with him to take his mind off of that. Who needs enemies? Well, the truth can be told here. We didn't want to watch it. He begged us. He pleaded with us because we watch Doctor Who all the time. He's like, I haven't got anything to do on Saturday night. Can I please come round and watch Doctor Who, please? So we bowed to his will. We put on the 3D glasses and we watched the
I
episodes.
think
Just
the best part was, and this is real, and he can't deny this. Day the Doctor opens up and the 3D effects are happening. He's going, "Oh wow, this is awesome! Oh, this is the coolest Doctor Who I've ever seen. Oh, if they made more Doctor Who like this, I'd watch it." And then, yeah, he loved it. He absolutely loved it. He cannot deny how awesome it was to watch some Docky Who bursting out of the screen at him.
and I have to give it a mini review. 100 times better in 3D. It was a really great viewing. I've seen this a lot of times, and there was a lot of stuff I picked up on that I wouldn't have if I didn't know it was in 3D. And one of those things people may wonder, and I've always wondered why they did this. When Gemma Redgrave turns into a Zygon, so Kate, she spits all this stuff out of her mouth, and I was like, I wonder why they did that. And it's because in 3D it looks like she spits up all over you. So amazing. So it solved one of those little story points that I didn't think had any reason to be there. What did you think of it in 3D?
Oh, it was awesome. I still remember getting the last two tickets in the cinema with my dad when I was 12, when that came out in the cinema over at Northland, I believe I saw it at, and watching it there, and all the funny ads beforehand. I was dressed as Tom Baker. Yeah, it was so cool to relive that. And to see it again on screen in the comfort of one's home was really nice as well.
Yeah, I went and saw it. It was sold out, I think, every session for the 2 days that it was
Mm.
on. I cosplayed a fat bald Doctor Who fan and fit right in. But I do remember, like, when Tom Baker came in, people weeping in the audience, and it was a very almost religious experience. And I sat there and go, I finally made it. There's not just me in the house as a Doctor Who fan. It's like mainstream now. So it was very rewarding. And that's what we had round at Edwin's place. Everyone was Doctor Who fans. He might deny it, but why would you be there if you weren't?
Well, we better start wrapping it up, Aaron, because we've come to the end of the show. We'll give a little bit of a spiel, obviously, to your shop, Aaron's Collectibles, on Shop 31 Main Street, Blackburn. Give us a really quick insight into what's going on at the moment. What have we got? What's happening?
It's a really cool shop with a lot of cool dudes inside. Come in Saturday and talk to Dags about Doctor Who. Well, I can't really say anything else that I haven't said. We've had a couple of really big Lego collections. So if you're a Lego fan, we've got assorted Lego. We've already sold the Lord of the Rings stuff, which was amazing to see, and then went straight away. I think Nick bought some Friends stuff. You know, that stuff, the pink stuff for girls, but that was for your sister.
Yep.
Apart from that, I
Yeah.
think everything's still there.
Yeah, no, awesome collection. It's all out on the shelf now. So if you want to grab some Lego from the early 2010s through to 2016 or so, anywhere between Lego City
Yeah.
and Lego Friends and everything in between, definitely come on down. But other than that, that brings us to the end of the show. Aaron, have you got anything else to say?
No, not really. Thanks everyone for putting up with us for another hour. We'll be back next week.
Yes, hopefully there's some more news that pops up. Who knows? But yeah, until then, stay safe, everyone, and we will see you next week.
Have a good night, guys.